G'day, Dan here. So, it's been a bit of a difficult video to do. I was going to do this yesterday, but it's just a bit of energy and a bit of overwhelm, I suppose, for me to sort of go through a process and, really denounce and step away from and repent for my involvement in the work done in with technology and things I'd envisaged, which goes back to sort of 7 or 8 years ago now with setting up Unified Purpose, which came from epiphanies in regards to the convergence of all this technology and things that were sort of in my head starting to overstep. I was dealing with the education sector at the time and come across things around the knowledge business and self-educate working together, which ties into stuff like Tony Robbins and that. I don't know what you're doing now. I know you've cloned yourself and you're in with all the billionaires, brother, but getting people to clone themselves as their own guru. I mean, you are the guru yourself, and these things are going to turn into your own covenants and agreements and work that you will do, supposedly you, through this clone. So I'm saying be mindful, and there's a balance to this stuff. But anyway, so the Unified Purpose was of a view that with a universal basic income, which was highlighted at this point in time as a possible solution to jobs loss that AI and automation and whatnot was going to take. And then I sort of thought, well, what are the privacies that's going to have to get taken away? What are we giving up to get this universal basic income? And do your research on that in terms of it doesn't take much to see. Look at what COVID, that was a test. People are comfortable to stay home, get all these restrictions put on them, and they didn't mind because they was getting money. It was good to be able to spend time with family and whatnot, but to what detriment? So, again, I suppose, so just to give you a bit of an idea, you can pause it. What I'm looking at as I speak to this, and I'll try and keep it brief, and I'll post a video to follow this, which will be a AI sort of generated overview of the digital ID and the things that it connects to, because the digital ID connects to more, it's a trigger to a lot of this stuff that's just not on, if you ask me, and removes humanity. And then we start to talk about clones and transferring consciousness into machines, and I don't know whether you want that. I don't want that for my kids, and I'll certainly stand up and fight against that to get taken to some other world, some other place that isn't here, if that's what's going to be going on. I don't want to be here when you're doing that. I don't want that to happen at all. And I don't think, I think we should all be unified in our purpose to keep our humanity and to not overstep on these scenarios. So, again, I do repent and denounce, and I've done this process in the past, my involvement in regards to looking at this, and I can show data sets even when we look at a self-sovereign ID system and some of these solutions that are, they're still hackable. They're still, I'm reluctant with groups that I've dealt with to go, hey, I recommend this as an ID sort of system, because the AI and all these things being able to then hack into it. But ultimately, in my opinion, when you are carrying a frequency that's in line with your authenticity, with that love with pure intent, it's impenetrable. They can't break it. So, but if you're becoming de-spirited, de-souled through decisions, and then, these terms and conditions through online where it's, I'm guilty of it. A lot of people, you just, approve the terms and conditions and privacy, and you don't read it. But what if there was an agreement within that where you were giving parts of your humanity away? or just you don't know what you're agreeing to. So apart from the fact that there's already been overstepped, and I think we're far more advanced than what we've been shown, and I've seen parts of it where some of these tech and billionaires and people, tapping into spiritual stuff, Akashic records, doing things to keep ahead of things by predicting the future or knowing the future or just tapping into energies that they shouldn't. So anyway, so the digital ID and then linking that to the digital twin, and always sort of look back at the SSID and the IAM, which is identity access management in the online world, in tech. Identity access management. It says it in the words. So that access to identity for you to be managed through a digital twin of yourself is pretty much as we go back to Akashic Records and get real technical, and then go into the light codes and frequencies and all this information age that we're in, where the information is coming to light, but then, and that's good in my opinion on, this is the balance of things, good with things being unearthed and whatnot, but then the things are being unearthed and what people continue to do at their last push to do whatever they've been trying to do to us. No. So, I do this video to create awareness and to basically, I would be doing an injustice to you and to humanity if I do not share what I know, what I've experienced, or I won't say what I know, what I've witnessed, and what my views are, and save as many people as possible, or at least not save. I won't use those words because, I've really had to surrender to that, where I can't wear that, can't build that kingdom on your own. It's up to you to save yourself. It's up to you to do your research and discern and not be a sheep and just follow what a corporate system is influencing you to do. Australia is registered as an ABN, so is every single council. What does a corporate and ABN, a business, usually do? Focuses on money or focuses on profits. And we've seen that evident now in what's been going on throughout society. So, whoever made those decisions, and then it's just ridiculous. So in terms of privacy and whatnot, like for me, I always thought I'm not too worried about privacy and stepping up, owning up to my shit. I'm a fraction of my dark sides, my things would be nothing compared to some of those evil people out there. So, I don't mind about the privacy aspect, but when it comes to overstepping into this scenario where you look at a human vessel, right, and fractionalize biometrics linking to these packets of data and just the corporate system of control and access, where we're already being targeted, and now this thing going into a digital world where they're taking a paper centralized system and putting it decentralized, federating it through trust, just like these treaties that have conditions on them that is controlled by corporate systems that we did not fucking agree to. So, excuse the French. Yeah, got a bit angry there. Excuse me there. Anyway, so, and on my notes, if you did pause and have a look, in terms of harvesting of energy and some of those sickos harvesting my ancestors' energies with their skull and bones and blood, these things is not on. But then to take this into a digital world and of energies and to de-spirit, to take away free will, to free thought, where you want for nothing. And I get surrender and being in the present and enjoying, but to want for nothing, to not want the sun to rise, to not want to have, nice relationships and control your own free thought and free will and decisions, and that energy where that gets taken away. I know what comes next in terms of the words you're speaking and the inhabitants inside of you. It's like, no. So this is good versus evil. So we've already got this paper central system to be decentralized, or that's what they're trying to do. And then when it comes to you as an individual, and I went deep into this with the TCP, Tim Berners-Lee, the internet protocols, the original protocols, and I've also spoken to many times the individual linked to Buckminster Fuller, who created the first ever metaverse in Silicon Valley. So, I've been in amongst this where that spatial web was to create an overlay, or it's already been created. Look at Google and the maps and this 3D overlay and Earth 2.0. I went there, built a metaverse city and I did this to be in amongst it, or God put me there and God did this, and to see these people now going to merge into an augmented or virtual reality world, to not be able to handle, and not handling the real world and plugging us in, no. I also learned about, all those packets of data that flow through these TCP protocols and how that extends now into some of the stuff going on with quantum and light codes. It's not good. So the HSTP protocol, hyperspatial transaction and hyperspatial modeling language, was what Versus.io was doing for quite a while, and they've now stepped away from that a little bit, at least on the front end of what they're doing. But I can see from the peoples that are involved with you guys that you got corporate. That's what's driving you, and that's why you changed. You're aware of this stuff. You've dealt with these people, Dan. So, anyway, so when we look at what's been going on with your CRN and your birth certificate and your placenta, and the actual way that law and structure and control over humans has actually occurred to date, and then you switch that into digital, do you really, and if you don't know about birth certificate and all that sort of stuff, then that's okay. But I suggest you look into that and then connect the dots in terms of this digital twin scenario. Then connect the dots to what's going on with food and water. Fluoride, heavy metals in the water, why they've got to pump stuff into that, and the lab-grown meats, I was informed, and haven't done full research on this, but with now lab-grown meats coming from cancerous cells, basically, and not very good ones at that, in terms of being extractions that they've come from, the essence of them. But long story short, within the biometrics and even that people have had, and go and look into the nanotech, go and look at videos online to see what's been unearthed from the dark web in terms of data where people have become a Mac ID, or have a Mac ID, which registers you. Every device, electronic device, has a Mac ID, so that all the data can be linked back to that particular device. Now, we have frequencies, light codes. We're receivers of a natural being, but there's been that overlay and natural frequencies and energies, but that's been hijacked, or attempted to be hijacked. And I'm seeing now that, from my experience and working with technologists and some of these people, that the groups out there that have been targeting individuals, and these groups do not carry light. They're of the dark. They're a different species, right? So when you talk about aliens and species and all this stuff, we're all sort of different aliens and species from different places. But, I won't go into that with some of that. I'd love to hone in on a solution where all these species can be together and everyone can. Sorry, I don't know. I won't go there with that. But long story, what I was saying with the Li-Fi, with light codes, there's a group. I sent a link from a technologist in amongst one of these groups the other day. It was God give me a signal to make sure I'm aware of this, that they're trying to now turn the Wi-Fi into Li-Fi. They've sent packets of data under the in the ocean. They did it with like sending data through the light codes. So these I already know have been these light codes that that come out of us. There has been technology, whether it's satellites or other camera and different what's the word? Different perspectives. What's the fucking word? What's the word I'm looking for? Where you can see the different light. Anyway, we've been targeted with light codes, right? And whether that's then people coming in to infiltrate karmics, and whether it's being shapeshifters, all that sort of stuff, they come in to disrupt your life, cause chaos, where you're not projecting light. You get to this situation where, some people that don't want to be here, and that's what they end up doing sometimes. And no, so it's sort of this awareness of all these things is so that you can, fear is a liar. Don't have fear, because there's certain things that these beings know they can and can't do. So don't operate with fear, operate with light. Don't buy into, just don't go there. I mean, I'm going a bit off topic, and I apologise. Welcome to my head and this world, things that, and why this video was hard to do. But I really, so going back to the receivers and the devices, and when you're talking about digital and quantum and AI and things becoming programmable, including with the money, when they're talking about digital twins and the digital ID and the central bank digital currencies, where it's programmable money, and that if you don't do certain things, or if you said something bad online, you'll take credits off, and your participation in this system as a token is actually connected to the mark of the beast. So I'm sitting here, and it was difficult yesterday, and still, I wouldn't say difficult. I enjoy my scenario in most cases, and then when I don't, I have to just reset my energy to go, remember what's, I've been placed in a situation. I'm living out of my car. Pulled up, don't have money for fuel, don't have money for food today, and I'll go to the food pantry, and that'll be right. And if I run out of fuel, I'll still be right. I'll pull up, and something will happen. I'll ask and receive, but it's difficult to the point where it's sort of overwhelming, where I just want you to be saved, as many people to not be despirited, to go back to this scenario of getting a handout like Donald Trump. Everyone except for the rich get this stimulus package. What are the terms and the conditions of that? Why are the rich not getting it? I don't think it's a scenario of just looking after. I think, what is the terms and conditions connected to that handout? What is the conditioning for you to go, what's next? As he knows, and he's trying to push the AI, wherein, my conversations of governance, there's plenty of proof for me I've been banging on about this governance, who's in control. OpenAI, Elon founded that as a non-commercial, influenced, and then Sam Altman and whatever else is then going on. There's been nothing else I've seen pop up outside of any corporate influence as a governance to go, what are we doing with technology? Or what are we doing with allowing robotic companies to do synthetic biology in robots, where they're literally getting turned on and wigging out, whether they've had a consciousness placed in them or not. And, we can start to talk about clones, which I think, all around us anyway now, with a bit more advanced than what they've been having on. From what I've witnessed myself, they couldn't have been people. If they were receivers and programmed. So if this is the next phase and the remembrance for people to remain human and not go transhuman, and I've got to put myself out there, I'll do that. And I did agree to, whatever may come, knowing I have protection. And knowing that any evil comes after me is going to get it reversed back to them sevenfold. So, and the ADSX chip. So the biochips, which I haven't looked at what I was doing before in terms of, that was in 2020, this chip to link to identification. There was some sort of merger. It's controversial. It's obviously controversial. So there is, in terms of the heavy metals and the nano sort of tech, there is the thing called an ATP process. I'll put that into this video or put a photo up of it where, you can use natural foods to be able to cleanse your body. I am about to go through that process myself and, really hone in. And but there is ways that you can cleanse yourself. There is ways with that as well to connect to an alchemical process for us to be able to easily grow foods when, things, because, going back to my situation in the car and what I sort of talked about, things may get a little bit, if you want to call difficult in terms of a lens of comfort and whatnot for those people that do want to stay human, but trust in a higher plan and just decide, do you want a bit of difficulty for a little period of time as this unfolds and people make their decision, or do you want to not be human? Do you not want to be yourself? And if you don't want to be yourself, do the shadow work. Why? Well, just face those. What has occurred? What influences outside of you has conditioned you for you to not want to be yourself? Because you should love yourself. It's not you that's having those thoughts. It's outside influences, and there's stuff that's occurred in terms of this technology, as I say, a bit more advanced than what we're seeing, where you have been receiving these signals that aren't pure and these thoughts. And if you haven't, there's been people around you that have infiltrated, that speak actual words that then become thoughts. And it sort of comes back to this biology of belief. And all these dudes, involved with Singularity University, like, not so much Bruce Limpton, but, I'm talking about you, Tony, and Robbins, and a few of the others, like, anyway. Mind control. So, implanting false timelines, false memories, creating satire like they've done with many of the books, with altering those, and then utilising the power of words and their frequencies, doing inversions in words where it's literally creating the opposite. And then you've got certain things that match up with colours and symbols and stuff like that as well. Like all over the place. Everywhere. So there's some dark shit in here, but Freemasonry shit. So anyway, going back to your languages, I'm deep into that. I'm going to be learning another language soon, and because English, a lot of the words been inverted, don't mean what they mean. So might come on mute soon and just telepathically talk to you all. That already hasn't been happening. So going back to it, sort of, yeah. And I'm going to sort of call it a quit here and describe this or transcribe it, and I'll keep speaking on this and hone in on my message. There's been a bit here and a lot of topics, but yeah, like I say, when you look at that CAD, the 3D overlay, the augmented, the overlay, the holographic, and I'm pretty sure I've experienced myself when I experienced clones, that there's objects, right, able to be holographically put into a presence of your awareness that would look like a real thing that's there. It's like two worlds colliding. It's like that. There's literally the real world, and then there's this digital overlay now with the packets of data being controllable, objects seemingly real that aren't. So, and you being receiver. So I want to say, like, and you can think I'm mad all you like. I don't care. I know reality. I know what I've experienced. I know what some others have experienced around me as well. So if you feel like any other device, whether it's a person that is gone in on an area and made agreements and or a Mac ID, you've got the jab or whatever, and yeah, I just look, if you don't trip out, don't let the fear creep in. Know that what is possible with the technology. So if your TV or radio, you're hearing something that just feels off, know that if, like I say it this way, and with AI generated content, right? Say you walk into your family's house and they're watching a show, a TV show that might be from the UK and has these, what's the one where they have the little, anyway, if they start talking about stuff and you go, why are they talking about this? How is that allowed on television? Why are they talking about my circumstances? Or it feels like they're speaking about me or someone that I know, my family or whatnot, or the situation. Well, just think this. If that's got a packet of data being sent to that TV and a signal, and packets of data are controllable through protocols of TCP or other ones now being built on top that go back to that original, I might say, then, and now you've got AI content, or the AI content's been there for a while, that what you're seeing on that TV could just be, without you knowing, right, you walk into the house, switch, right, the TV knows, because you're a receiver. You've got a signal, bang. This one with the light codes walked in, or these ones that have built these systems, light code in room, this person. Then that content, right, can just be generated with AI to look exactly like the TV show, like everything's going on, but say things to wig you out, to try to. So that's just an example of where tech is overstepping. And the reality that every packet of data, when we talk about an digital, not natural world, these sort of things are possible. So do not wig out if that starts happening to you. And that just should be a little bit of a warning of this sort of certain things that are going on. And if it happens to be, a person, don't forget, it could be demons inside them. It could be the combination of that and them receiving prompts, receiving signals to say, act a certain way or do certain things. So fear is a liar. Just ignore it. Don't give it energy. That's where we focus on just some real basic things where I've been put in situations to learn this and realise, we need to sort of go, hang on, who's having the conversation? What do we want? What are we creating here? I certainly don't want my children to get tapped into this, you know. So, and I'm sure God doesn't want that either. I'm sure none of us want to get put into situations where our free will, our soul, spirit is stripped away and we become machines. And if you want that, all the best to you and good luck with where you're going. So I'm going to hit 30 minutes. If you've listened in and you receive value, and hopefully this helps one or two people and you can spread the word and help, I'll hone in my message. There is another video that I'll put up that explains a little bit more succinctly. And I've got a song that I'll put up as well. I may or may not sing that myself, but I've got, some AI generated content. You're criticising some of this tech with the AI. For me, I'm using this in balance with pure intent and to get that content out, and also with a big ecosystem here that I've had plenty of opportunities and tests, I suppose you could call them, to go and do certain things and had to really pull back. And again, denounced any my involvement, pull back any work that I'd done with groups that were there. No, you don't have approval to what I've provided. It's been cleansed, and we need to have this conversation. And ultimately, I'm putting my faith in people to come together and to be conscious of their stories and these sort of things as we do come together. And that, I'm not saying this is going to be easy, but it's going to be authentic, it's going to be real, and it's going to be done in stages. And yes, whoever's been doing all this can be held accountable, and that we make things right again. We need a bit of a reset here. And that sort of reset, we're talking about. I think, in terms of the aliens and whatnot that may have harvested their energy, and I'm sure there's another solution. Anyway, I'll land on that. I'll think more about that. But again, go back. You can pause and go back to this. But one of the things that's coming to me, as I didn't sort of touch on with the terms and the conditions, right, as you create, and I've mapped out sort of certain things where build a team of AIs that build the next ones, and that do all this work for me and create all this wealth so we can distribute it. Well, not for me. I say, for me, build it, the foundation, so then these templatized systems can be done for anyone. And that's the time, these groups out there doing that, but not to the extent. They're not doing it right, in my opinion. And then I'll say, oh, well, what's right and wrong? Who's to say? But in my opinion, that balance use. So the marketing agency to produce content for events, for a story festival, people to be able to come together, to have these workshops and have these creative musical experience to connect emotionally, and to be growing food and focusing on the basic principles. And it's just some real basics, because a lot of this stuff, I'm not saying you to go and learn all this. We just got to keep things simple and go back to, some principles that keep our humanity, keep our energy strong, but have the right tools and resources, a new opportunity to, I know a lot of people in the sovereignty or freedom, or even if they're not in that, to be able to step up and move out of a system of slavery and this control. If you start doing that, then, just like the light codes in people, you're sending signals and triggers for these evil people and things to then come and try to, like the crab in the bucket, pull you back down. And so I get that, but then, to be pragmatic in terms of the new opportunity that we have to create wealth. This is where the most amount of wealth is created right now in this next 10 years than what's been created in the last 100. Yet we're talking about having to hand out universal basic income. Yet we've got problems that haven't been solved from these corporately influenced and institutions and countries that haven't fixed problems. So grassroots solving problems, having localized banks, And again, I'm reluctant, and I won't recommend any ID system. You know, it's something that, you know, requires conversation. And I think what I did is go, all right, we need paper first, human first, in-person events, and we can use some AI to help with the admin and also the legal side of things where it's required, and also condensing down and working out this stuff with what these guys have done with words. And I think, yeah, this next 11 days, if you haven't done so already, yeah, put devices down, use cash. Be there with your family. Have the conversations. Let's do something about this and show that we, you know, people have got to step up now. So I ask you to share this and to reuse it. Use your knowledge if you've got something to speak on to this. Maybe simplify it. Maybe explain it away where I haven't waffled and gone around in circles and brought in all this other stuff. But then also be conscious of our words and what we're, you know, projecting in terms of anything here I talk about. I'm not projecting. I'm not creating this to come into reality. I declare that. I'm touching on these words and topics to then denounce and pull these things back from any realities that have been created. Out of the hands of any corporate, any evil, and into the hands of the people where we can manage and be the people to do this in a pure, loving way. Because things have overstepped in terms of this technology and interference with humanity. Anyway, the video's going on. I'll hone in. I might do another one later. I'm hoping you get value from this. And, yeah, much love. I'm glad. I don't mind if I had cried, but I was trying to do this. I was crying beforehand. But, you know, it is emotional to, one, have, you know, been involved and felt like I've contributed to creations of things. But, you know, I realise I've been tricked and put in certain situations and had to learn to be able to play my role right now. So if you want to remain human, recognise what the digital ID connects to. And look at my background. Look at the work I've been doing. You'll see what I, you know, back at the spatial web, upg.social, and dealing, you know, with these guys in the rooms and whatnot. And I'm not saying they're all bad when I say your name Dan and versus. I just know there's some people around you that have corporate agendas and what your views are on advancing innovation and tech. So anyway, for those that want to add some comments to help hone in my message, feel free. Those that want to have a go, yeah, feel free. But again, those that are resonating with this, I hope just reach out if you've got any experience, you know, something's resonated, you want to have a chat. I'm happy to, you know, spend that time with you. And yeah, much love. I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.